Again, we're live. Now that we have switched up to YouTube Live, hopefully we'll get some more comments. But this is a little early. Lately, we started off doing this show early. Like, I don't know if you've watched any of the episodes, but we started this literally because me and him, I was bartending at Orange Hat. He was the first customer every day, and so
I get to tell everybody.
Everybody knows that.
I thought you were a night owl.
Yeah, he's that too.
I do both.
So you must nap a lot.
No, he's insane. He gets no sleep whatsoever.
Just goes in his little humidor for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Good to go. Nice bare chamber.
But so that we just started. That's why we started at Waking Up in the Brewery, because we were waking up in Orange Hat every day, and just decided, hey, let's just do it as a podcast, and it's allowed us to meet some amazing people. So I don't have to deal with him all the time. We get to meet Marty Vellis. For those of you that don't know, Marty Vellis is kind of the Jim Cook of Knoxville, I would say, wouldn't you? I mean, I know I don't want that comparison.
They like to call me the Godfather.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's mainly because I've been here so long. And
how long have you been doing this?
So I started getting involved in the craft beer scene in Knoxville in '93. Wow. I worked for the company that supplied the equipment to the brewery on Gay Street.
Yeah.
Which has been about 5 different things, but downtown brewing grill. So that was in '93, and that was just as a consulting gig. I had a brewing school in Hermosa Beach, and one of the restaurateurs here sent his nephew to my school and wanted to build a brewery on Bearden Hill in his Calhoun's restaurant. And so I helped him do that, pick the equipment, set it up, lay it out, and that's kind of what I did as a consultant. Was I would set up the breweries, lay them out, train, do product formulation, recipe design if needed, and that's kind of what I did for Gay Street and then Bearden Hill. So I started having this Knoxville connection. In the meantime, I was setting up breweries in South Africa, in Hungary, in Namibia, in Japan, and I'd go back and forth. In Texas, I was currently on a project in Texas, Fredericksburg Brewing Company, while I was doing this, and Japan. So I was flying around a lot and having a ball. So that's kind of how I got into Knoxville. They wanted to do another brewery after Bearden Hill in '96 in Gatlinburg, so that consulting gig kind of got stretched out and turned into a 27-year residence.
Oh, wow.
So we just fell in love.
I'm here all the time. I might as well live here.
No, I mean, we fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And my wife and I want to start a family, and we did. And we thought this is an excellent place to raise a family. We were in a little village in Southern California called Los Angeles, and I was going head to head with 13 million other people on the San Diego freeway, and I just had enough of that.
Yeah.
So this seemed like not too small, not too big. People were nice. They'd chat you up in line at Kroger, and they would let you into traffic. Like, oh, get used to this.
Yeah. It's funny that you say it's not too big and it's not too small, and that's a perception coming from LA. And I know LA. I was born in California, but I grew up in Blount County. So Knoxville was way too big for anybody in Blount County when I was a kid. They were just like, oh, we're going to the big city now. Yeah. And so most people. So there's this Alcoa Highway comes all the way as it comes into Knoxville. There was this big green bridge that separated Knoxville. It's not there anymore.
Isn't that a America song? Alcoa Highway?
I think it is.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Everything into a song.
You're accurate, yes. But it was literally 4 lanes, but they were so tight on this bridge. I remember we came here one time where me and my friend and our dates were driving to Knoxville from Blount County, and we're in the middle lane on a 4-lane crossing this bridge, and his girlfriend starts, we're in the suicide lane. And I'm like, we're just going to another town, and the bridge is literally like
We're all gonna
a
die.
minute.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah, so that was kind of the idea, and so Knoxville was the big place, of course, until you live here.
Yeah.
And it's really small. actually, really small by the standard of most cities, even in Tennessee. Like if you go to Nashville or Memphis, like we're still a small city.
Yeah, they're metropole.
Yeah.
We're still a town.
But the changes that I've seen and you've seen even more in depth since starting in '90s. I mean, I don't know that there was what was around brewery wise. Downtown Grill.
Hops was here on Cedar Bluff, Cedar Lane, over there, in the early '90s, and then Smoky Mountain Brewery, the original Smoky Mountain Brewery on Gay Street, was here in '93. So they were both. That was it.
Yeah.
It was Hops, and then that one, and then we built the Smoky Mountain Brewery in Calhoun, which I think was the third brewery here.
Yeah.
So we're up to 26, 27, including some replanting.
So there's not even competition, honestly. It's
No,
not even an idea. Craft beer is these are home brewers that decided to open up a restaurant and serve whatever home brew.
Yeah, we don't necessarily compete head to head.
Right.
If you get into the market, then yeah, you're more competing with Lagunitas and Sam Adams
Right.
and Sierra Nevada. I'm not competing with Al's for next level.
Exactly.
We're trying to educate people and
Yes.
get them to move on to craft beer.
And that's the key right there is the education. You know, and you're not going to find education in these big breweries like Anheuser-Busch or Miller Coors or anything like that. I mean, and you're not going to find education in a lot of the drinkers of Miller Coors and Anheuser-Busch because they just want a beer. But the thing that is interesting in the idea of education part of it is I know so many people that I don't like beer or I don't like craft beer, even more specific, but just the idea of I don't like beer because they had an experience with a domestic Pilsner when they were 10. Dad said, here, yeah, you can take a sip. And then it's just like, oh, that's beer. And but that's not beer. That's not what beer is anymore.
Well, that was my experience, Chris. So when I was a teenager, I was dabbling in beer, and there was nothing to be had, and this was late '70s. Okay?
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time. So I didn't think I liked beer. And I visited my mom's farm house or town in Czechoslovakia, and we had gone about every other summer. We'd spend the summer there, me and my kid brother. When I was 17, my cousins turned me on to the Pilsners, true Pilsners.
Yeah.
You know,
From Pilsen.
yeah, Budjovice, Woodbard, Pilsner Kells, Zlatý Bajan, Kozel. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I actually do like beer, but I like that beer.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I came back to the States, I asked my dad, where do you get beer like that? He said, well, you don't. And I said, well, okay, well.
See, you can't get there from here.
Yeah. So, we'd work in the yard. He'd buy us a sub sandwich, and we'd have a whatever was their Beck's. I think we had Beck's at the time, and he liked that. So, it was not a big deal. It was a European thing. I was 17. So I said, well, can I try making it in the garage? And he said, yeah, knock yourself out. Not literally, but, go for it.
Right.
If that's what you want. And so I did. I looked in the Yellow Pages, which is a thing. There's a copy.
Yeah.
There's a copy of it in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
It was a big book. Anyway,
Right next to that little box thing that had the little handle. that you could
exactly.
talk
Yeah, that.
Those were the old car seats.
So I looked up beer and brewing, and there was a supply shop across the valley. I lived in the San Fernando Valley. It's called the Home Beer, Wine, and Cheese Making Shop. And I drove my '67 Mustang over there and talked to the proprietor, and he set me up with a starter kit and encouraged me to join the club, which met once a month, the Maltose Falcons.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's how I got started in 1978.
Just the reference to that name, the Maltose
Yeah.
Falcons
Maltose Falcons, yeah.
versus the Maltese
Yeah.
Falcons. A lot of people aren't even pick that up.
Yeah.
You're dating yourself a lot more than you even realize.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But,
You should start a club here, the Maltose Falcon.
right? Like a bottle share club, the Maltose Falcons.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to do that.
Bring
Yeah,
that name back.
Yeah, I love that.
that would be
And
fun.
they're still chugging.
Do shirts and have a bottle share and, that would be a lot.
So they still have that same club?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Woodland Hills, California. I'll ask him if I can open
Do
a
the
chapter.
Tennessee
Yeah.
chapter, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Yeah.
We had some pretty famous members. John Mayer wrote. Zamalt was the Falcon.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Kenny Grossman he wasn't in the Maltose Falcons. His brother was Steve, but Kenny was up north, and we were kind of contemporaries. He was involved in. He actually had a home brewing supply shop in Chico, and so there was a lot of collaboration there. But yeah, so he's another notable that is affiliated with the Falcons.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the first beer you brewed?
Oh gosh. So I really wanted to master lagers.
Oh, and you're doing this. Were you doing lagers out of your garage?
Yes. Yeah.
That's insane even to think about.
Oh, I know. The temperature control issue was very challenging, but I was a do-it-yourselfer kid, so I figured it out. There was really nothing to read. There were no books per se on brewing. They were all in German. So in high school and college, I studied German instead of Spanish, which
Right.
most people do in Southern California.
Because they had to speak
so
what was around them, so you were probably in a very similar situation, and you had to speak what was around you.
Yes.
Like if you grew up in the Czech Republic, like
I played-
Germany and stuff is
Exactly.
not far away
I
there.
played soccer with a lot of Hispanic players, so and I knew all the curse words.
Yeah.
The important things,
Yeah. But yeah, so I studied German because I could read the brewing books that were available at the time. So it was an interesting experience. So my first beer, it was an amber ale. There were three kinds of beer that homebrewers made in the 70s. There was light, amber, and dark. That's it.
And you all went ale just for the
All
expense
ales,
wise,
yeah.
'cause it's
Well,
easier to do that.
yeah, it was just simpler.
Yeah.
It was you could brew it at room temperature. You didn't have to have refrigeration.
Right.
And it was done in 4 or 5 days and ferment it or bottle it, age it for a week or two, and then you got beer. So it's like woo.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's come a long way since then.
So far, I mean, everything about home brewing, all the way through beer, even for your big guys, has changed so much about how you make it, about what is acceptable. I mean, I grew up with the commercials of bitter beer face.
No.
You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
And so bitter beer, that's a bad thing. And really now it's skunky beer. Like skunky beer is not what you want, but bitter beer is actually what a lot of people want.
Yeah, hops are what make beer beer.
Yeah.
Legally.
Right.
You can't call a beverage a beer unless it has hops in it.
Right.
And the American brewing industry has systematically lowered the hop content of the beers to where they're right at threshold. You can't even perceive them because they need to sell to a wide demographic.
Right.
And we call it carbonated malt pop in the craft side.
Right.
So the macro beer.
And then now we're heading into the seltzer thing. That's apparently a thing.
Yeah, we've been there before with the wine coolers and so on and so forth, the alternatives. It pops up from time to time when people are just looking for something new. And it'll never go away, and it's a nice supplement for people that just don't like malt and hops.
Have you guys done? You haven't done any seltzers.
We haven't yet. I'm actually working with a contract client that's asked me to do kombucha and seltzers, hard seltzers, and some other products. So I'm excited about that.
I think it's not my thing. I really don't, especially the big company seltzers like Zool does a good seltzer, but to me it's because it's got this bold fruit flavor, whereas something like a Truly or a White Claw or something like that just tastes like static and somebody's yelling a fruit name from another room.
Yeah, they're kind of fake tasting. The ones I've had, I haven't found one that I would drink. I know Elst has a good one too.
The Elster, yeah. I don't mind it. Yeah, that one's pretty solid. Like I said, the Zool, the Zool Zeltzers is what they call them.
Oh, nice.
But they do a fantastic job with those. But just not a trend for me. I like my beer to have body, and I like it to be bold in its flavor, and that's what I'm looking for is something that challenges that. But that's not to say that it has to be what Zool does, because Zool is how do we get out of the box? How do we take this style and get out of the box? That's what it seems like to me. So they're pushing the boundaries on flavors and stuff like that.
My wife has put me on a diet. She's been out of town for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
She expects me to be in shape by the time she gets back.
How long you got?
I got a week and a half. I'm way behind. So.
You need to drink my skinny.
Okay, yeah.
It's lower carb than Mick Ultra.
Oh, really?
It's low calorie and it's got more flavor.
I didn't know that.
Super dry, super crisp, and it's
He's like, here, I'm gonna pour this.
Yeah,
You're not pouring that
If
out.
you look next to my bed, I've been there 6 weeks by myself, and I woke up one morning and looked and just cried, looking at all the seltzer cans. I was like, that's been horrible.
Well, here's a fun fact.
Yeah.
So the University of Edinburgh did a study. It was conducted a pretty comprehensive study about the beer belly, the phenomenon of the beer belly. And so they had all these groups, focus groups, and study groups, and reference. Anyway, there were thousands of men in this study over 15 years, and the conclusion was that the calories and carbs from beer does not contribute to a belly. It's the appetite stimulating effect of beer that leads you to choose richer foods, and that's what really builds the belly. Because I mean, I'm not saying I'm a freak or anything.
You were svelte, dude.
Yeah, I don't have a belly. Of course,
At all.
I hope this is the one episode my wife watches. Okay. Tell her that I can keep drinking beer.
Yes. My
Please.
wife is a beast. She's got great physique, but she has her 2 or 3 beers a day, and she says, I'm saving my carbs for beer. She just doesn't eat a lot of rich food. She doesn't eat a lot of bread and pasta and stuff like that. So she eats meat and vegetables, and if we have pizza, she scrapes the top off the pizza.
Speaking of that,
See, that's going to be a stress. So my fiance is currently hitting the gym, and we've started meal prepping, and we've been doing the calorie count. We listened to Ethan Suplee, played Louis Lassie in Remember the Titans. The big guy has always been a hugely overweight dude, and now this guy is like, he's a monster. Like he's fat, shredded. Like he is huge and well built, and we listen to his podcast, and the main thing he hits us with every time is like, you're not going to lose weight unless you're in a caloric deficit. But it still matters what you eat. Like you can't go into a caloric deficit and then eat nothing but Cheetos and high-fat foods and stuff like that. He's like, it's not going to help you because you're still putting in all the fat and all the calories.
Well, and your body will store it.
Yes.
It'll think that you're starving.
You're starving.
And it'll start
Yeah.
storing it, and that's the exact opposite of what you're looking for. So the calories and carbs of beer do not make people overweight or build.
Well, see, that's
bells.
that's the plus to what you're saying that Kayla will jump on. She's like, okay, so I can still drink beer. Just like Alex, like, yes, I can still have
My
beer.
wife is living proof.
But the other side of it is you just told her she can't have pasta and pizza.
I'm sorry, it's not me. I'm just telling you what science has discovered.
this
And
brings
it
us
sucks.
the Marco's Pizza segment. Hey, Marco, have you seen what they're doing?
I have not.
You brought that up about pushing scrapes the toppings
Yeah.
up. They're the first pizza chain in the I did it again last night. First pizza chain in the country to make a crustless pizza. It's basically all the toppings of the extra large in a tray like a lasagna. Just pour. It's amazing.
I would eat that.
I have been eating. Yeah, it was. Had the all meat pizza last night. It was great. It's like just a big lasagna.
It's meat eater or the
Yeah.
meat eater or meat lovers.
Yeah. So thank you again, Marcos.
Yeah.
So between Marty and Marcos,
Yeah.
you've got a diet.
Yeah, just pizza toppings and beer. From
No,
now on.
and hey, just a PSA here that if you are not disinclined to do some daily exercise, and it doesn't have to be a triathlon.
Right.
If you walk,
Like you do.
a few miles, walking is probably one of the best things. I still play soccer and run, but we like to walk around the neighborhood, and you can have that piece of pizza with the crust,
Right.
Or you can have that biscuit or whatever. Just don't have 12 biscuits.
Right.
And
Everything in moderation.
and get out and walk a little bit. Or if you like to ride a bike. Because it's not just about your shape. It's not just about your physique. It's what's inside too.
Right.
I mean, your body needs to move.
Right.
You stop moving, then you
You're
stop
dead.
moving.
Yeah. Stop moving for good. Yeah. Well, I want to get back to how the industry has changed so much. You've been on the front line of how it's changed in Knoxville. What does that look like, and where do you see Knoxville going from here? And where do you see Fanatic going from here? I mean, Fanatic, you've been doing it for Calhoun's Smoke Mountain Brewery. You switched up and decided, okay, I'm going to do this for me.
Yeah.
And that's what Fanatic
Yeah.
is this is your love
It's
child.
always my dream, yeah.
And so, what does craft beer in Knoxville look like? What does craft beer Fanatic in the future look like? And what is your role in that? How do you push that forward, or what do you want to push that forward?
Well, I'd like to be a good role model on not only how to make a good beer, but how to run a beer business. And hopefully, people are watching. It's there's easier ways to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm not really doing this, and most of us don't do this to make a fortune.
No, it's a hobby usually to start that you fall in love with and think, okay, now I've got this hobby that I love. How do I monetize it?
Yeah, if you don't want to sell insurance, or if you've been selling insurance and you're just not fulfilled, but you've been dabbling in home brewing, and that's the passion you want to pursue, then and it's happening. So we have over 8,000 breweries now, locally in the Knoxville region or East Tennessee. The good news is, pretty much all the breweries are well above the bar, well above average, and the consumers are loving it. The consumers are getting really treated and spoiled. I got people that travel around, and whenever they go to a new town, a new state, different state, they look for local beer, and they come back and they say, Marty, I compared it to your beer.
Show off.
Yeah, and it's not just me; it's all the Knoxville brewers that. And I like to feel that I've had a hand in that. I'm very proud of that. That I've touched some of the brewers and inspired them or instructed them. But I mean, it's them. They're doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. So if you compare us to Asheville, North Carolina, that's an amazing aberration with the density and the quality and the diversity.
I call us Little Asheville all the time.
Well, we can be, Asheville East.
Yeah.
Or West, I guess.
The difference is I think per capita we have better beers than Asheville. There's not and some people don't like.
I wouldn't
comparisons or
disagree with
anything
that.
like that. But I think you could pick any brewery in Asheville, and I could find somebody that is doing something similar to what that style is better in Knoxville.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
It's insane, the culmination of quality brewers that Knoxville has accumulated. It's insane. I go a lot of places and drink a lot of beer outside of Knoxville, and
Compare.
it's and me and Gregory Hedrick had the same Knoxville Beer Mayor had the same discussion. He struggles going somewhere and finding a beer that he's like, yeah, these guys could be in Knoxville. It's rare that he finds one. He's just like, usually it's like, okay, they're not bad. They're the best of this area, but they're not going to be in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Knoxville is strong.
Gregory owes me a visit.
And you thought that
Yeah.
me, you, and Gregory hit a lot of breweries. You know Ed Pritchard?
Oh.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. Pritchard.
So, so we're sitting there last night. It's me and Ed. We were at Orange Hat, and me and a couple other regulars. Doug was there, and Craig. And so I said, hey, we ought to have a game. See who drinks the most beer in a year here at Orange Hat, and whoever wins, the other three pay the tab.
You've got no chance.
And so I was like, Ed, you're involved. Ed wouldn't even look up. He's just sitting there on his phone like this, and I was like, We're all yelling at him. We're like, well, I want you to acknowledge us. And then he turns around with his phone and shows us his untapped.
That's what he was looking up. His
He pulled up his
untapped.
untapped. It said 14,832 check-ins, and we were like, all right, never mind. You're out of the group.
At Orange Hat.
Yeah.
Like that's not even just, that's not all of his stuff. That's just his chicken in Orange Hat. So I met Ed, and I love this man dearly.
Yeah.
I met Ed at Casual Pint. I was working as day bartender in there, and Ed would come in and he would get frustrated because he never had his card with him for the club where he'd scan in, and so he gave me his email because that will link it as well. And then me and him kind of bonded because he never had to give out his email to me ever again. I just got one of those minds that I pick up on it. So I'm just like punching it in. The moment he hits the door, I'm punching in, logging him into the point system, and he's like, so I was like, all right, I got you.
Yeah.
I got him a beer, and he's like, and I would be that guy that's, well, you haven't had this yet, Ed. Let me get you this, and he would try something. He hates sours, so he's generally like staying away from the sours, but occasionally he'll go, I don't try it.
Yeah.
But he would tell me all the places that he's actually so high ranked.
Yeah.
Like he's the #1 check-in at every place throughout Knoxville. I'm like, that's the job I want. I want to be that guy that when I retire, all I do is go around and
I'm
drink
jealous
all
of
the
him,
beers.
him and Greg both.
Yes.
One time, Ed and I ran into each other at 4 places in one day.
Yeah, he gets around.
Schultzbrow, Central Flats, Orange Hat, and I forgot.
Yeah, oh, I talked to Ed, and I'm like, so where are you going after this? He's like, actually, this is my second visit.
Yeah.
I'm going somewhere else after this, and then
He's
I'll
got-
probably finish up the day over here.
He's got the schedule. On Thursdays, I go this.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
and Gregory's the same way.
Yeah.
Gregory is like, I'm gonna go to these places, and heaven forbid, there's some special event
yeah.
going on in Knoxville somewhere. Like Gregory will like this. So this new one that's coming up, it's the 40th anniversary of the 1982 World's Fair. Super excited about. You might be the only one of the three of us that was legally able to drink at the 82 World's Fair. Were you?
Yeah, actually,
I was not.
I would have been 21.
Yeah. You would have just been there.
Yeah.
So I was 10 years old.
Okay.
No, 11. 11 at the World's
Yeah,
Fair.
I was
time.
born in
And
61.
I got to see a lot of the World's Fair stuff, and that was exciting. All the countries and stuff like that. But 11 years old, I wasn't thinking beer at all. And now I can't not think about beer. So I'm super excited to see what everybody's doing. And Kava is producing an ale trail map, which I've done the ale trail maps. I've done 3 of them
Wow.
already. Just because I love doing that. Me and my fiance, we were doing it because, hey, I can get a sticker, and then I can get a glass, and then I can get a t-shirt. And so I've got 2 t-shirts, and then they stopped with the glasses and stuff. So we've got the glasses, we've got the stickers, but now they're just doing t-shirt. But I'm super excited to get this new map, and I want to hit all the breweries, I want to hit all the countries, I want to see what everybody is doing with this. Again, because I think we've got some of the most amazing brewers. I think some of these styles, nobody in Knoxville's even tried a sample of that kind of beer. And I grew up on import beer. I didn't even like domestic beer. Right? Don't even look at me and talk to me about domestic beer, because I'm a Guinness guy first and foremost, and then Newcastle and whatever else. I want those import flavors, and that's another reason why I love craft beers, because I can get all those import flavors
No.
and support local American
Well,
business.
craft is domestic, by the way.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
But growing up, it was Budweiser and all of that.
Macro
That's-
beers.
Yes, those are American domestic beer. And that's what I'm saying is now I can get all of those fantastic import flavors and support domestic business.
So Chris, I like to, and I've been saying this a lot the last few years, but it used to be traditionally the brewing nations were Germany, Czech Republic, or Czechoslovakia, Belgium, England, and today the preeminent brewing nation on the planet is the United States.
That's awesome.
Because we do all of that and more.
Right.
We
Right.
innovate.
Right.
I mean, we've come up with new styles. We've come up with variations on styles. I mean, we're brewing outside the box, like you were saying with the Zool and them. I am getting ready to have some fun here. We have a barrel age program that I'm about to start releasing.
That's my favorite stuff.
Yeah, so it's really cool, and it's the consumer is the winner.
Yes.
So and the
Yes.
boat, they're driving the boat. The consumers are driving the boat, and the brewers are just giving them what they want, because it's variety, it's innovation, it's complexity, and it's really a great time to be a beer lover in the United States.
I was listening to Jim Cook. That's why I mentioned him earlier. So those of you that don't know, Jim Cook he's the big guy at Boston Brewing Company, and they're doing so much stuff. Sam Adams, Twisted Tea is his, Angry Orchard is his. Like, I mean, they're doing some crazy stuff. And
Truly?
Yes, Truly is there. So, and his thing is just about how can I completely diversify, and I think that's the business side of him is how do we keep diversifying.
He's a Harvard MBA. He's a sharp cookie.
Yeah, he is. He's insane, and just listening to him talk. But I love his idea when they were trying to. He did a cranberry, not Quebec,
Lambic?
Lambic.
Yeah, I remember that.
He did a cranberry lambic, and the entire beer society came down on him like, you can't do cranberry lambics because they have to be done with cherries and
peach.
berries, like mostly berry stuff. And he was like,
peach is accepted.
yeah, but he was like, no, I'm in America and I'm going to innovate and I'm going to take this in another direction and I'm going to prove to you that it can be done in other ways. And that's what's so great about American craft beer is, I mean, there's craft breweries all over Europe and everywhere else, but the culture and the playfulness that
the mentality.
American brewers, yes, and it has always been that American mentality.
Anchor Brewing birch beers is a good example. I mean, that was a Revolutionary War staple.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have access to hops.
Right.
England wouldn't send hops.
Yeah.
Because they were fighting. So
Well, it's
instead
also
of hops,
even-
they used birch.
It's also the idea of you can't make a beer that is that style because whatever box they want to put you in. Like, you can't make a Pilsner unless you live in Pilsen. That's just stupid.
Well,
But technically accurate, it's not a Pilsen invented the Pilsner, so therefore
it's
it
like
is.
sparkling wine and champagne.
Yes.
So I have to go take care of my steam boiler. It
Yep.
should take about 28 seconds.
Can we get, okay, well, let him do that. That way he's gonna get a refill. I mean, I can pour them, but I'll let you do it. So you guys are getting just the surface of the top of the glacier of what Marty Vellis knows about beer, and but he's not like a complete beer nerd. Like he's not gonna
Made it
drown
back
you.
in 26.
That was impressive.
Can we
That was.
Well, I got my magic legs.
Lieutenant
Can we
Dan.
pause here, or?
Well, yes, we can pause, or we can turn the camera, or we can continue talking, or Alex can entertain and we can get refills.
Go ahead, you pick something for
Why
me.
don't you guys talk amongst yourselves?
Yeah.
I'll give you a
Skinny.
topic.
Skinny? All right.
Jumbo
Give
shrimp.
him the skinny.
You want to try the skinny?
Let's do the
All
skinny
right,
for
I need
him.
fresh glasses here.
And surprise me,
Okay.
I drink any style.
What do you lean towards?
I don't.
Okay, good.
I don't lean.
He really doesn't.
I only lean after I've been drinking like all day.
You okay with hop?
Yeah. Hey, how are you?
Good.
But not to create dead air. I'm curious on what his favorite beer of the week is.
Oh, yeah.
And so we need to make room for that.
Yeah.
I already know what mine is.
I already know who I want to punch this week. You probably know.
Another segment, yes.
You probably know.
I'm sure I do.
There's actually a couple from the same night.
Same night.
That one's crazy. It's not a Gatlinburg tourist.
Yeah, that's weird. So I do want to mention this story. It's not somebody I want to punch, but on my way here, I saw somebody had repurposed an ambulance. Oh, this is exciting. Look at that. Look at that head. They repurposed an ambulance, and it was Dr. Something Fingers
Yeah.
on the door of this ambulance.
Yeah.
OBGYN.
The golf button on too.
Now, I didn't think about this a lot because I'm following it, and across the back of this ambulance, right around the edge of it, it says just the tip and only for a minute. It says that on this ambulance. I'm like, oh, well, I wonder what they're referencing. Like, it's probably some silly business, like maybe it's plumbing or something like that. And then I pull up as I'm passing it, and I see on the door, it's Dr. Something Fingers, OBGYN, and I'm like, I had so many questions.
Yeah.
How did you get the ambulance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Second of all, are you really an OBGYN?
Yeah.
And third of all, did you choose that based off your last name?
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
Like, and then probably fourthly is like, do you have any clientele?
Yeah.
Like,
Fifthly, do you do it in the back of the ambulance, or do you have an office?
right? He's a mobile OBGYN
Named Dr.
that
Fingers.
is named Dr. Fingers, and he advertises.
He should just start pulling into the food truck park, like in between the trucks. And see what he can get.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's taking it to another level.
Of
But
course, kids would be going back to their parents like, I want the chicken fingers.
Just started.
he's Doctor of Fingers. I want those.
Thank
I want
you.
the fingers.
Yeah.
No. But
that's
so
weird.
that was a really awkward vehicle drive-by story that I had to talk about for
Yeah.
just a minute.
By the way, this is good.
Is it?
Yes, I can crush this.
So tell us about the skinny. What is the skinny? Is it a
So
Pilsner? Is it a lager? Is it
It's an
a?
American style light lager.
Okay.
So it's about 25% rice adjunct. I do use enzyme to dry it out, the amyloglucosidase. It's a little trade secret, but that's how you can't make light beer without that.
Right.
It is a light beer, however, that having been said, and it is low carb, low cal, because of the process and the mashing temperature and so on. Anyway, but it does have more flavor than like a Mick Ultra or a Miller Lite.
Now,
That's not saying a lot.
Well,
I'm
let
gonna
Alex
taste
let
it.
Alex tell you. And I'll give you a sample of it, Chris.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna drink this.
Yeah, no, we'll try it.
Is it? You digging it?
So it's very
No, it is.
crisp, very dry,
Yeah.
but it does have more flavor. I do put a little more hop in it than you'd find in
That
a
is so super
typical
refreshing.
macro beer.
Now, is this one that you bottle or can?
Not currently. It's relatively new. I will.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be perfect. Both
Oh,
beer.
yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That is a boat beer.
Probably
Yeah.
put that into some
All day
skinny-
drinker right
skinny
there.
cans.
As
Yeah.
much as you
Oh,
guys
you could do like a tall
Yeah,
thin
why not?
16? Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
As much as you guys are in grocery stores too, that would be a huge.
Nice supplement.
Oh yeah, people would be looking.
And not a lot of the craft brewers are making style
No.
like that. Paul over at Duck Rabbit would ridicule me. He'd say, really, Marty? Really? And that was so. He
But
was
there's
talk-
an audience.
He was talking about my Mountain Light at Smoky Mountain Brewery, and I say, hey, I'm making beer to make money for this company, and that's what people want. And some of my colleagues call it a concession beer. And I'm
Not a session beer.
yeah, concession beer, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, about 85% of all beers on the planet is still a really light, bland Pilsner style, or
Yeah.
just very light Pilsner style,
Yeah.
or based on Pilsner style. I mean, there's a company that calls their flagship Fine Pilsner beer, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because Pilsner and hops are synonymous, and something missing with that. But
Well, I also to bust Yeehaw's nuts. One of my favorite beers, in fact, I posted it on our page. I made chili with Yeehaw's Dunkel last night, and it's still cooking in the crock pot right now. But the Yeehaw Dunkel is not an actual Dunkel, like any determination of flavor, color, etc. for me. Like if I want a Dunkel, I'm going to go down here to Schultz Brown and I'm going to order their Dunkel, and it's going to get a Dunkel. It's a German Dunkel.
Yep.
But to their benefit, Dunkel is one of their best-selling beers, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But to me, it falls in the porter category. But it's a great beer. But those misnomers, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, the education of beers. So Dunkel has done so well for Yeehaw that people think that's what a Dunkel is, especially in this area. And so when they go to a place like Schultz Brown and say, I want a Dunkel, and they get this amber lager looking beer, and they're like, no, I wanted a dark beer. And I think it's detrimental to the whole of a style of beer. But it's positive for the craft beer industry as a whole.
Right.
You know, it's a great flavored beer, it's a great seller, it's a good beer. I just wish you would just say it was something other than a Dunkel.
Well, it's like in the old days where they take their light lager and they put caramel coloring in it, and that was their dark.
But it's the same thing as going St. Patty's Day and ordering a Bud Light and they squeeze some green dye in it and tell you it's a green beer. Like everybody in Ireland would lynch you for that. Like you're getting killed
It's
on
an
any major
abomination.
road.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a green beer in Ireland anyway.
No.
But the idea that you're just going to green dye it up and say, oh, we're celebrating St. Patty's Day, stop. Just stop.
There are some IPAs on the West Coast that have a green tinge just because they're so chock-a-block full of hops.
Yes, with hops, yes. You might as well just chew on some hops. It's basically
It's like a beer mojito.
I struggle with a lot of West Coast IPAs for that very reason. Speaking of IPAs, I think I'm drinking a pale ale. Is that right?
Nope.
This is an IPA.
Nope.
It's neither.
No.
Is this a hoppy? There's a bitterness there that I can't define.
No, those are good guesses, but this is a. I mean, you want to keep guessing?
No, I'm done guessing.
So this is our hoppiest beer. This is hoppier than my IPA, and my IPA is not a beach over the head, bitter West Coast style.
Right.
There's plenty of that around.
Yep.
My colleagues are covering it. I don't need to do it. So I did a mashup between a West Coast, New England, and a British IPA.
Okay.
My IPA has a lot of British, which is the original IPA. A lot of British qualities. It's not super bitter, but it's very, very hoppy. Do dry hop it. That, what you're holding and drinking, is a Northern German, true to style Northern German Pilsner.
Wow.
Very dry, very hoppy.
Well, I don't like it. I don't dislike it. Sorry. I don't dislike it.
I don't like it.
No, I don't dislike it. Damn it.
Okay, I'll keep trying.
No, my thought was, because of that hop profile, it's definitely not as hoppy as any IPA I've ever drank, which is why I guessed for a pale ale.
Yeah,
Like, you're still going to get
it's a
that
good
hop
guess.
profile. You're still going to get that clean, fresh flavor.
Yep.
So it's a hoppy pilsner, but that's typical of the region.
Northern German
Taste that.
Pilsners.
You would guess that as at least a pale ale.
Yeah, it's well into the 40,
IBU?
mid to high 40 IBUs, which is hoppier than my IPA.
Yeah.
But it's dry, it's crisp, it's got enough malt character to balance that hop character and the bitterness. But I mean, they're noble hops,
Right.
so you can throw a lot in, which is why Pilsner Urquell was so well touted, is because it was the first beer that you could hop the hell out of because of the soft water and get away with it. So
Right.
people were like, "Whoa, hops! Yay!"
Well, and it took me a long time to even understand the fascination with the bitterness unit. Like, again, Guinness doesn't have a bitterness unit for me. When you're pouring me a Guinness and that frothy glass and it cascades with the hops, and it also is a light beer.
It is. It's very light in calories and alcohol.
And people challenge that idea of dark beers are heavy and caloric high, and Guinness is like, actually we're lighter than most light beers in America.
Yep.
And we're also lower in ABV. Like you can literally crush Guinness, and I can. I'm one of those guys that I can drink Guinnesses all night, and I'm good.
Yeah.
But when it gets to, it took me a while to get to the hops that I could enjoy. Like IPAs were so far away from me when I first started drinking craft beer is because of that bitterness. And maybe it was the programming of my childhood, the bitter beer face. You don't want bitter beer. Bitter is bad. And so it took me a long time even going into that.
It is an acquired taste though, just like spicy food.
Yeah.
And you know, the craze of the hot sauces in the 80s, where people were ruining their palates
Yes.
with the Scoville units. But you know, once you get a taste for spices, and I liken the craft brewing industry to wine and food in the 50s and 60s, whereas people, you know, the average American ate casseroles and bologna sandwiches on white bread with yellow
Yes.
mustard, and that was our staple. But all of a sudden, you know, a Chinese restaurant moves into town, and they got spices, and they got heat, and then an Italian restaurant, and then all of a sudden, you've got all these crazy flavors and an amazing, you know, variety of gastronomical experiences, and you don't go back to the bologna sandwiches. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened here. Is and us that started it. We who started it were the ones that went to Europe and tasted beer the way it was supposed to be, and came back. Jack McAuliffe, 1976. He was stationed in Scotland in the Navy, and he started the first craft brewery in the U.S. in Sonoma, California, because his friends were homebrewing in Scotland, and the rest is history. But he had a lot of followers.
You're so accurate on that. In that idea of, we get caught up in this idea of how that beer should be, and then because of innovation and how we do these beers, there is now a beer out there for everybody and everybody's flavor palette. And the idea of beer, almost the definition of beer is so different for everybody. Like when I met my fiance, her go-to was Blue Moon.
It's a good one.
Is it? Yes. No, I'm just kidding. It is. It is for what it is. It is a great beer, and I love that Miller Coors took that lane and said, what can we do? They built a brewery just for that beer. It's so which is insane. But she can't go back to that now.
Nope.
When I met her, of course, I was full on into the craft beer scene, and she loves coffee, so I got her into Gotta Get Up to Get Down.
Oh, nice.
Out of Wiseacre, it is a coffee beer that makes you feel less guilty about drinking first thing in the morning. Like that's how I describe it. It is such a great coffee beer that it doesn't taste like beer. It tastes like a cold iced coffee. And then she's like, oh, this is what beer can be. And so now we've all expanded from that same idea as we drink these. Like she tried a Blue Moon not too long ago because that's all the place had that we went to, and she's like, this just isn't that good.
Well, we call that training wheels beer.
Yes.
So it's transition from the bologna sandwich to IPA.
Yeah. Now don't get me wrong, I still want a bologna sandwich from time to time. I will sit and drink a case of Coors Banquet and be completely happy. To me, that's that bologna sandwich of beer. But it's also because I'm, just like we said earlier, so pampered, so spoiled by what Knoxville has to offer in the craft beer industry that I can't I can't just always fall back to a bull in a sandwich.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where you can't fall down without hitting a good glass of beer in Knoxville, which is wonderful. You don't have to drive across town. You got one, blocks away. And
Well, I was going to say, I was a wine drinker all my life. I hated beer until I was 36 when I started doing stand-up. But I didn't want to drink wine on stage. I found out early I couldn't drink wine on stage. I was just slurred and I had purple lips. And, it didn't go well. So
purple lips can be funny.
I didn't know.
It is funny. He just thought it was because of his jokes, and his jokes were dying on stage, but they were laughing about his
There's a
jokes.
whole long story. But, so I didn't know what. I was like, I hated beer all my life. And so I was at Side Splitters Comedy Club one night, and I was like, I guess I'll just get a beer. And so they gave me a Corona, and I was like, that's okay. And they put the lime in it, and I was like, can you put more limes in that? And I was like, okay. So I was the guy with like 4 limes floating in the beer, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I did that for a while, and then I met Kathy Wolf. You know Kathy?
Okay.
Oh yeah, the hardest. She broke my ribs still hurt from 2 nights ago. I saw her for the first time in 2 years. Oh yeah,
she's
a hugger.
intense.
She's intense. So Kathy took me to Crafty Bastard, and that was my first craft beer. Was the Earl Grey, and I was like, okay, wait, no, I like this.
Yeah.
And so I kept doing Earl Grey for months, and I've been getting so mad if they run out of it. I was like, well, I guess I'm not drinking beer anymore. It's like, I'm just done. And then
It's my beer.
Yeah.
I eventually got to where the hoppier the better. And then it was weird. So then I went back to try like a lager of any kinds, and he knows that's the only style of beer I don't like now.
I'm
It's
just
like,
getting converted.
he's trying. There's been a
He's
couple.
choking down the skinny.
Yeah,
Exactly. As he chokes down the skinny.
I know. It's got to be. Yeah. No, so this one's good.
That's just to make sure your lady is happy with it.
She's not gonna be. Somebody's okay. She knows I'm putting effort in.
Pay for effort.
I'm trying.
There's video proof of
There's
you're
video.
putting in effort.
Yeah.
You get a trophy.
Yeah.
Participation trophy. Accurate. Participation trophy. Yeah, I mean, it's weird where we are now with beer. And that goes back to my question. Where are we going? Where's Fanatic taking us with beer?
So I think we're there. I'm contributing to the conversation to the extent that I'm interested and able to. I'm growing the business organically, as my colleagues are. The more people that get converted to craft beer and appreciate the qualities of craft beer and the merits, not just that it's an amazingly delicious beverage, but that it employs our community and puts taxes into our coffers.
Yes.
That's another reason. It's not the only reason. It shouldn't be the primary reason.
No,
but it's a reason that really should be considered. That if you had the choice,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm not sure I completely agree with you. I think if you're truly a patriot of America, you kind of invest in your community, don't you?
well, you should, and
And that kind of,
Country,
for me,
state, and
is
city.
also a forethought in my mind when I'm buying alcohol. Like, I like beer, but I want to invest in my community. I want my community to do well. And I know if I go out and buy a beer at Fanatic, that those tax dollars are going to stay here and they're going to help my community in a lot, and for certain places, a lot more than just, hey, that brewer is paying tax dollars into my community. There's certain people like you that are also investing in our community with more than just your tax dollars.
Right.
So to me, investing in these businesses, we're employing locally, we're taxing locally, and that helps our communities. And that's across the nation. Like, if you're in California, go drink Anchor. Go do it. Because it's going to help your community by doing that. And to me,
or Bear Republic.
yeah, but to me, there should be that more concern of supporting your local business, supporting American business, and even more so, I don't care what your taste profile is, what beer you normally like, you can find it and probably a better version of it in the craft beer industry.
Well, it'll be fresher than for instance, an import.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the craft brewing industry has made the strides that it has, is beer is a beverage that is at its peak when it leaves the brewery, or better yet, is consumed at the brewery.
Yes.
Not like wine or spirits, which can age and gas and so on and so forth. It's like milk and bread. You do not want day-old bread. You don't want week-old bread.
Yeah.
And you don't want, months-old beer, because it's the same carbohydrate profile as in bread.
It's coming right off the fermenter, almost directly.
Yeah. So that's at its peak of freshness. As long as the brewer's done his job of paying attention to the formula and the process, you're going to have a better experience than if you pull something off the shelf that's been shipped overseas and it's been sitting in the warehouse or the shelf or whatever for months. Yeah, it's not going to be the same. It'll be beer. It'll be stable because they pump it full of stabilizers and pasteurize it.
Right.
But there's probably a fresher, less near you. So I encourage people to
At the
seek
very
that out.
minimum, it's going to be a fresher version of what you're drinking out of a six-pack.
And we have to be as good or better than anything else on the shelf, and we are. Which is cool.
Well, you were also like the first bottler in Knoxville, weren't you?
Yeah, we got
Like nobody else was bottling before you.
I don't
No,
know if there's
I
anybody
was-
else that's done it since.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's bottling, maybe not
like
canning.
bottling. Yeah,
everybody,
canning, yeah.
A
but-
lot of canning going on. Yeah, I was.
I still consider that same thing, like
Oh, yes.
anything that's coming
No
from a brewery and sitting on the
no
grocery
canning.
shelf. But you've been doing that.
Yeah, with Smoky
Before
Mountain, in California, when I brewed commercially, I was a guinea pig for Dave Maheen, makes the Maheen bottlers. So whenever he had an idea, he would bounce it against me, because I'm a recovering engineer, so we spoke the same language, and Dave is an amazing engineer.
You've got so much more personality than most engineers I know.
Oh, thank you. Maybe why I'm recovering. But so Dave always knew that my beers were stable, they were consistent, and so if I run it through his bottler, that he could find out what it was capable of, and so that was a nice relationship. And then I eventually did a lot of consulting for him. I set up his bottlers in South Africa and Japan and all over the place, all over the States. So it was a good relationship. So subsequently, I was, bottling, and Smoky Mountain Brewery wanted to get into packaging, not widespread, but just to have in-house packaging.
Right.
So I had them buy a Maheen, and we went to town on that. I've got one here that we use. I'm really a little bit disappointed that they're not recycling glass anymore, or at least not readily.
Yeah, when we were all growing up, you could take all your bottles to a grocery store and they're going to pay you 5-10 cents for a bottle.
Yeah, we would take them up to Oregon. We'd tell our dad, "Hey, can we take our bottles up to Oregon? We get like 15 cents each." Like a Kramer moment.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Seinfeld. Anyway, so I'm a big advocate of local distribution. You asked about Fanatic. I don't want to go anywhere beyond maybe 250 miles. I have the capacity to supply that with my brands. I don't really want to be 3 states away or overseas, because there's great beer 3 states away.
Right.
And I don't need to be there.
How do you feel about I know that the laws just changed, you can self-distribute anywhere in your state now.
And we intend to do that. We're not going
How do
to.
you feel about Memphis?
We're not going to distribute to Memphis.
Okay.
There's logistically, it doesn't make sense for us, and there's great beer in Memphis.
Yeah.
So, but we would like to, if people come to Knoxville and they like our beer, they say, "Hey, can we get it in Anderson County? Can we get it in Johnson City? Are you going to send it to Sevier County, Gatlinburg, or Pigeon Forge?" Yes, we'll do that, because that just makes sense.
Right.
And my ultimate goal is to employ as many people as I can, local people here, and treat them as well as I can, give them good benefits, pay them well above industry average, because that's...
Are you recruiting right now?
I am. Yeah.
So those of you, he is recruiting.
Well, I'm looking for a full-time apprentice, and I'm a great guy to learn from.
Absolutely.
Don't have to have
Absolutely.
experience.
Right.
Might have somebody for you right there.
Well,
Yeah.
I need, so we're growing to the point where I can't do it all myself anymore.
Right.
I've tried and I love it. It's my jam. I love getting in here early and banging it out, dragging hoses, filtering and so on, and brewing.
Do you still enjoy the cleaning?
You know, so being a recovering engineer, I understand the need for it.
Right. But nobody enjoys that.
No, but I take pride. I sleep
Yes.
well at night because I take pride in the fact that even though I don't feel like cleaning that, sterilizing that
Right.
that heat exchanger, I know that if I don't do it, it's gonna bite me in the ass.
Yeah. It's a butterfly effect.
Yes.
It'll run through your entire system, and
And,
you're just like,
and so I do it.
Yeah.
And I go to sleep at night and I say, all right, you can rest easy with a clear conscience.
yeah.
But we're going to the point where I'm not going to be able to do it all properly
Right.
myself.
Right.
So I want to get somebody trained, and I have a certain way of doing things. Like I said, I have a lot of experience. The real difference between a brewer and a brewmaster is a brewmaster is just a brewer that's been doing it long enough that he's seen all kinds of crazy shit
Yeah.
and knows how to deal with it.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've gotten to that point. I can help you with that. It's not-
Finally, like just yesterday, right?
there's nothing recently. There's nothing in the books. You
Yeah.
can't, nobody writes about this.
Right.
You have to get that through an apprenticeship. So yeah, if there's anybody out there and they don't have to have experience, actually, it's
Preferably not. You don't have to unlearn
Yeah,
their.
as long as they don't have
Well,
that.
we're gonna have to talk off camera here in a
If-
second, guys. I've got somebody.
If they're making good beer somewhere else and they want to, work in a bigger brewery, because
Yeah.
this is a real brewery,
Right.
then yeah, hit me up.
He's got a good candidate for you.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I've got one question before we
Yeah.
have to do our last two
Yeah.
segments.
Yeah, we've got two segments.
We did
This
two
is going to be
segments and
interesting.
we end with, they're quick ones.
Okay.
But before that, I had one question. He talks more about the beer side of things because he knows a lot more about beer than I do. I'm always fascinated with the actual brewery. Like, so my question is like, is there a brewery in the Czech Republic that you just is your favorite? And how do the breweries like not just the beer, but the experience of the breweries there compared to here?
So a craft brew experience
Like
in
going to a brewery there, what's it feel like
versus a craft
what does it
brew
feel like
experience.
walking into one in Oxford?
So in Czech Republic or Slovakia, brewery is a brewery is a brewery. So the technology and the SOPs and everything are pretty much standardized. If you go to a brewery in Switzerland and then visit one in Romania, not to single them out, it's going to be a little bit, maybe more lax. The product's still going to come out.
Right.
In Switzerland, they may over-engineer it. I don't know. Czech Republic and Czechoslovakia is kind of in between.
Mm-hmm.
They know when to be clean and when to pay attention and when to be anal. But I mean, the process has been the same for hundreds of years. So to answer your question, when I worked in Bavaria, I worked with these two guys in the cellar because I worked in each department, and I call them Hans and Franz. I forget. I think they were both named Seth, which is Bavarian for Joseph. Anyway, and everybody's last name. You don't call anybody by their first name. So they'd be working with these open fermenters, right? They'd be scooping off the Hopfenholz, the hop resin that floated to the top of the
Right.
Preußen, because they didn't want to drop it back down because they make it nasty. So they'd scoop them off. Well, one of them's like, he's wiping his nose on his sleeve and he's reaching and he's dipping his elbow in the fermenter, and I'm like, holy crap, really? Because back in California we were like super anal retentive about, there's a bacteria. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. There's a bacteria.
Yeah.
So, no, they know when to be clean and when to be attentive, and at that point, full poison, it's safe.
Yeah.
You can abuse it. they weren't purposely abusing it. However, that having been said, they had this little tray of sanitizer, and they'd put on their Gummistiefel, we'd wear the rubber boots, and before you entered that open fermenter room, you'd have to step in the sanitizer, and then make your way, and then dip your elbow in the fermenter.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't think he meant to. He wasn't supposed to dip his elbow, but
Yeah.
he did anyway. And the
Yeah.
beer came out fine. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
I also wondered about like the atmosphere in a brewery over there compared to here. Is it more like you always picture like overseas or different countries? It's just more like we're just slamming beers and drinking and having fun, and here it's more. Just,
Well, especially if you watch Oktoberfest videos,
Yeah.
like in German
Yeah,
Oktoberfest, you've got the beer
That's
maids
what-
that are literally carrying
that's all
out
we have to go
all
on.
of the mugs, and then everybody's sloshing beer and banging beer, and like it looks like
there's
a
production and then there's consumption.
yeah,
And in the breweries, they're factories.
yeah.
And there's blue collar work,
yeah
for the most part. Except for the brewmaster who may be up in his office,
partake.
knocking one down, just for quality control.
Yeah.
They're factory jobs. It's not a glamorous job. But the end result, and seeing people enjoy the end result, is very satisfying.
Yeah.
So, I get people that come to me and say, hey, I'm a home brewer and I want to brew professionally, and they're great. Do you like to clean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the first question.
How's your back?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. I can't explain it, but they call. I'm the Fanatics. Apparently, this came up in a brainstorming session, and it's like, Marty, if you've been doing this like almost 40 years and you're still like nuts about it, you are a fanatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I am, and I hope it's infectious because it's not work for me. I go
Right.
back there and I'm dragging hoses and cleaning stuff, but I'll listen to some music or I'll just think about what I'm going to brew next for the GJ10 series. We have a rotating tap called GJ10.
Okay.
It stands for Giggle Juice, and they're all about 10%. So right now we have a Scottish Wee Heavy, right around 9.8. The next coming up is going to be a Uber Maibach, also 10%.
Maibach is one of my favorite ever.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of it. And then after that will be a Belgian quad.
Yes.
So we're having fun with it. Like I said, we've got our flagships dialed in, and we're going to have fun with it. And that's what is really cool about the brewing scene in Knoxville, is that everyone's like brewing outside the box, and it's amazing across the board.
Yes. But a Maibach, there's no other Maibachs being made in Knoxville in the springtime except you and Schultzbrown. That's a fact.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's such a great crushable flavorful beer, and it's seasonal as well. But and it's May is what it's named after, which is my birth month. But Schultzbrown even made a post the other day about what beer are you most excited about for the spring for us to make. And I was like, that Maibach is fire. Like I love a great Maibach. And I'm going to reference this again in this podcast. I've said it on several episodes. When you've got a brewery that is doing browns or Maibachs or ESBs or that beer you're not seeing everywhere at every brewery. It's not an IPA. It's not a stout. It's not what everybody is doing. That little off one, whatever that is, and you drink it and it tastes fantastic. Drink everything they have on tap, because that is a brewery that loves making beer.
Yep.
Now, Maibach is not a profitable beer. A brown is not a profitable beer. These are styles that somebody is looking for that style, and they want to drink that style, and somebody's not doing it.
Yep.
But they're going to find that. So if a brewery is taking an interest in making those styles, they're taking an interest in beer. They're excited about beer. They're excited about bringing flavors to their audience that maybe you're not experiencing everywhere else. And to me, that's what makes a great brewery. You can make all the IPAs, you can make all the Pilsners, lagers, whatever else, because everybody else is doing that.
Right.
But if you're making a Maibach, I want to come here and I want to drink everything you have on tap, because you're making a Maibach, nobody else is.
So you want to support those breweries.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
and encourage them to, like the Goza.
Yeah.
There was no Goza here 10
Right.
years ago. And now you see Goza, every third brewery.
Yeah.
And it's a really
In
nice.
fact, it's almost habitual for people to show up. You got a Goza, you got a Berliner Weiss.
Yeah.
And like, who even? When you started making beers, who anywhere near you knew what a Berliner Weiss was?
Yeah. Adamsbier. So, and that's, again, the consumer wins. And,
Yes.
and they're driving the boat because they're saying, what do you got next? What's new?
Yeah.
What are you cooking?
But it also starts with breweries that want to make that educational difference.
Yeah.
That want to make beers. And it's funny, when I started this, I was talking about Zool being out of the box. We're going to do the styles bigger and bolder than what you're doing. But honestly, we're now at the other side of it, of the traditional brewer that is also brewing out of the box when they're making a Maibach, when they're making a Berliner Weiss, when they're making something that it actually is traditional. You're just not seeing it in your breweries.
But the market is ready for it.
Yes.
The market is
It's
prepped.
savvy. It's we've done some education
Yeah.
on the forefront with what is available, and then thrown these little samples out there, and then you're like, oh, okay. So this is what beer can be. This is where we go.
And the hope is that the brewers that do present these styles do them properly. You can have your own twist on it,
Right.
But if it's not that, don't call it that, because it's
Right.
confusing and it's counterproductive to the education. It's like, so if you're presenting it as a traditional Maibach or whatever, great. If you're doing, because a lot of, and this is not so much anymore, but a lot of my contemporaries would brew an ale and pass it off as a lager style.
Right.
It's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's
Number one, it cheapens the lager style. and
Yes.
the effort that goes into it, because a ale is easy to make.
Yeah. Don't call it a Helles. Call it a golden ale, please.
I'm glad you referenced Helles. One of the saddest things in my beer drinking experience ever was the removal of Velas from the Velas Helles.
No, that was my mutual agreement.
No, I get it.
Part of me wanted to see it continue because I
It's a
very
great
proud
style.
of it.
Yep.
But then the other part of me was like, well, if I don't have control over it and it gets sullied, then
Right.
my name's still on it.
Yeah.
So we mutually agreed to retire that. I may
I
do
literally
it.
just now put that
It-
together.
I may
It
do
was,
Velas Helles.
yeah,
After all these
it was
years.
just very sad for me, because if there was a beer I was drinking when I go to Calhoun's or Smoky Mountain Brewery, like, I could always count on the Velas Helles. And then I got to meet Mr. Velas of the Velas Helles. And then now it's just the Helles, and I was just like, oh.
Now I feel stupid.
Velas may ride again. We'll
Yeah.
see.
So, our two segments. Which one do you want to start
I
with?
say we do the beer.
Okay, so we do two segments on the show. Our first segment is, what was your favorite beer for the week? What did you drink this week that was just your favorite beer? Like, kind of, it doesn't have to knock your socks off, but what do you go, I remember that, having that, and that was a great beer. Do you have one for this week?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, what you got?
Now keep in mind that I don't drink a lot of beer that's not Fanatic. Just
No, that's
because
fine, yeah.
one, I don't get out much, and two, I like my beers.
Yeah,
So the Pilsner is
it's
my
such a great mainstay.
current go-to, and
Is that what you've been drinking?
yeah, things are warming up. Sometimes I'll blend it with the Skinny
Yeah.
if I'm having more than 3. But yeah, that's I'm really proud of it. It's such a difficult beer to produce properly because it's so delicate. The Skinny's the hardest. The lighter the beer is, the harder it is to produce
Right.
correctly, and because there's no masking. So any imperfection,
Nowhere to hide.
no, it
Yeah.
shows up, like dirty laundry. So those are the ones I'm most proud of. The IPAs and the dark beers, if you goof up a little bit, it's hard to really, it doesn't jump out at you.
Right.
So yeah, that Pilsner, and we're just about running out of it, so I need to rebrew it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Did you have a favorite beer for this week?
I've got 2 answers in this.
Oh.
So,
Skinny is
The
obviously
Skinny.
one.
I'm not going to say it's my favorite.
Most
But-
unexpected, I
No.
guess.
It's yeah, I'm very surprised about it. It's not my favorite because I'm an IPA. I like hops, but it's my favorite as far as hey, I found something new that I can drink
Yeah.
and make my wife happy. So it's very good. I mean, you saw I slammed that pretty quick. Also, that orange hat I had the scooter.
Oh, it's a brown.
Brown with raisins.
It's an oat raisin brown.
I had that
That was
yesterday.
yummy.
Yeah, it's tasty.
It was really good.
It's super light, bold in the flavor. Doesn't hit you.
Yeah.
It's like what, a 5.2?
Yeah, it's 5.2.
5.2
So you got cinnamon in it?
brown. I don't know if it's cinnamon
Sounds
raisin.
like it should.
oatmeal.
It's got oat and raisin.
Right.
You gotta
Right.
throw a little brown sugar and cinnamon.
Yeah.
I didn't get that, but yeah, maybe.
For me,
So I had to, yeah.
if you were paying attention to waking up in a brewery this week, your neighbor, Else down here.
I
So
knew you were gonna say this.
it was ridiculous. So my fiance's favorite beer in Knoxville is the vanilla milkshake ale. She loves that. She would wear it as a soap, a lotion, however they need to give it to her. She would do it. And we went in there the other day, and our bartender Wes said they're releasing on Saturday
Barrel-aged.
bourbon barrel aged vanilla milkshake ale. And you'll attest to this, Marty. Bourbon and vanilla are some of the smartest paired flavors. And so that took us to another level, because I love everything barrel aged just because it adds that other notes to whatever you're drinking. And if it's done right, it's magic. But again, you're still hit or miss on whatever barrel gives to.
Right.
Kayla got excited because for $5 you're getting this highball glass and you're getting a bourbon barrel aged version of her favorite beer ever.
Right.
I kid you not, we woke up and we're having breakfast, we're watching a little bit of TV, and she goes, "It's 7 hours until we get to go."
Nice.
And she was counting it down all day. We're sitting in the brewery, mind you. We showed up early and had a couple of pints, and she's like, we went to another brewery ahead of time, actually, and she's like, "Yeah, we can't sit here. We've got to head over to Else." So
Yeah, it's FOMO of special release.
yes,
And that's what's really cool about what's happening in Knoxville is that kind of stuff is being offered on a regular basis.
Marty, there was no letdown with this beer.
Good.
It was about, so I've only given 2 5s on Untapped, period.
Wow.
Guinness, a great nitro Guinness, poured properly in the glass, that's
Right.
getting my 5. But this was my second 5.
Wow.
It was the most perfect blend of the VMA, which is a soft, sweet, full body beer. It's a dessert beer nonetheless, but it's still, you know, the VMA when you have it. And then these hint of oak and bourbon just sitting in it. Like it was literally a touch of genius. It was a touch of genius and luck, because you know that level of luck that you've got to
Yeah,
have.
you can't predict that.
Yeah, there's no way to measure that out. And then they pulled it at the right time, they caked it at the right time, and they delivered it at the right time. And honestly, there wasn't enough of that beer. I told Shane, I was like, tell you what, if it's not gone by Sunday, text me. I'll bring my sleeping bag. We'll hang out and we'll camp underneath the tap, and we'll just drink it for the rest of the night until it is gone. Yes. However we need to make that go away. I want all of it. It was such an amazing experience of a beer.
Nice.
And again, I build that up a lot, and I'm not over exaggerating at all. But the truth is you can find experiences like that all over Knoxville.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's so many moments like that I've experienced in Knoxville. Heifer from Zool was my best experience with an IPA. It's my favorite IPA of all time. I put it up against whatever Bearded Iris thinks they're going to put out next, which is always going to be some IPA of something. Like, I mean, I don't know that they can do a beer other than an IPA now. But don't get me wrong, Bearded Iris does IPAs the way you want New England IPAs done. But Knoxville has a lot of those moments where you're like, they're handing you all this stuff, but they're playing over here in the sandbox, and it's going to be amazing.
Oh,
what
yeah.
they're going
No,
to do.
I'm excited to see
that you've got a wee heavy that you're planning on.
No, we Heavy's on tap.
Glad we didn't start that. This would have been a much different podcast.
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
I'll give you a little bit
Yeah.
before we break.
Wee heavy is just ridiculous.
You
It's
don't,
one of
you
my
don't-
favorite
you don't
styles.
see a lot of that around either.
Again, that's my idea of if they're doing stuff like that, drink all of theirs.
I'll get
a little sample
short
would be great.
pour, yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and start the last segment too, though.
So the last segment, I know you've got something strong on.
Yeah. Well, now me nuts. You do it.
So I posted about mine on my private Facebook page. The person I want to punch, I'm not going to mention her name. Actually, I am going to mention her name because I can't punch her because she's female. As you guys well know, I also drive full-time for DoorDash. And I've worked in the service industry forever. And this is just a frustration for me. I'm not angry, I don't understand the idea. So I did a food delivery this week. And sometimes if it's not a big dash, like if it's 250, I'm such a jerk about a dash. Like I know that DoorDash is offering me 250 to do a dash, minimum. And then if the customer tips, then I know what's above that. Occasionally, DoorDash will combine dashes and say, okay, we're gonna.
This is actually the Tropical Heat IPA, mango, pineapple, habanero.
Oh,
Yes! Okay, never mind. Anyway, so I'm super excited. I love pepper beers, like you guys all know. But so I didn't know I picked up a 250 dash because they partnered it with somebody else. I'm like, okay, it's worth it for the miles and the money they're going to pay me. But then they show me that you got paid $250. Now, mind you, this was a food pickup less than a mile from the place I was delivering in the rain, and I delivered it to somebody who works in the service industry.
yeah.
And I can't wrap my brain around the fact that somebody that ordered food that they could have went and got on their own
Yeah.
did not tip
Tip it all.
at all. No tip whatsoever. I'm out there burning my gas. I'm out there running around in the rain. And this person I'm delivering to a restaurant
Yeah.
where at least half her staff survives on tips, as do I. And so I was just like, are you kidding me? So I put her on blast on my Facebook page and made it public. But I can't hit a woman, but I wish my fiance would go punch her in the face. At least, like, I encourage all of our listeners to just go to Twin Peaks, Knoxville, and Bearden, order from this girl. Like, can we get
Yeah.
Mrs. Garvey? I think it was Garvey. You can
Yeah, I think that's what you put.
order from her and then not tip. Just walk out.
It's my beer of the week.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
we're
already
going
changed.
back.
He's already changed.
That was
A tropical IPA with habaneros, a pepper IPA. I couldn't be more excited.
It's amazing.
Marty's just trying to appease us.
That.
Actually,
That's
that's my second favorite beer for the week.
That is really.
I
You
want
don't
to
get to eat until like right here.
I want to make a white chicken chili
Yeah.
with this beer.
I
It's
changed my beer of the week.
it's so
Gotcha.
good.
I see what you were doing.
I got you.
I took one step of my
The
face on the
tropical-
camera.
I am so happy with that.
The,
Oh
the
my gosh.
heat partnered with that bitterness of the hop at the end, because you're getting all tropical on the front end.
Yep.
And then it finishes out with this heat hoppiness.
Yes,
Heat's right.
Is
Right at the end.
So perfect.
right at the end.
I'm getting the heat like right here.
So I make my own habanero tincture. I dice up habaneros. They're not fully desiccated. They're just kind of shriveled. And so I soak them in pure grain alcohol and distilled water in a mason jar.
Yeah.
And dice them up. And every time I pass, I give it a shake.
Yeah.
And then within 2 weeks, it's saturated. And then I titrate in, and I make it by the keg. I put the mango and the pineapple nectar in. And then I put 23 milliliters of the devil juice, I call it the devil juice, for the heat. Now, I've had people come in that want to buy kegs of that for their kegerator and say, can you do 28 milliliters for me?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Can you do 30? Yeah, I can do that because they want it hotter. But I think overall, this is,
Yeah.
That's perfection.
Great.
Is this on tap?
Yes.
In Fanatic, also known as fan base for the tap room.
Yep.
Might get to this early.
I'm bringing Kayla back tonight.
Yeah.
We're drinking this tonight.
That's we heavy.
Feel free to.
We heavy.
Pour him a beer.
Okay.
We'll wait on you. I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
we will.
I'll do.
He's got
we're on
to
the-
do his
we're
part
on
of
the
the
segment of who do we want to punch.
How are you?
So, yeah, mine was, so I had a show Saturday night downtown at the Mirage to one of my favorite venues.
Yeah. Usually a great venue.
Everything went weird this time.
Yeah. So just to preface, Mirage is a place you've done several times.
Yeah,
And
one of my
the
sponsors.
way the building is built, it's almost designed for like a New York comedy club.
Yeah.
Like you sit at the acoustics are great, the
Yeah.
lighting is great, and then of course Mario is so supportive.
Yeah.
So continue. I was there.
There's
and-
multiple people I could have been mad at, but I'm just going to go with the first guy.
Yeah. And I know exactly who this is.
So this guy, 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes before the show starts, is sitting at the table right in the front of the stage. He's drunk. All right.
And
Well,
it started before the show started.
way before, like 30 minutes. He was just sitting there going,
I think he arrived drunk.
I think he did. He was like, "You better be funny.
Yes.
You better be
How
funny."
many times did he
Over
say
and over.
that?
Then he's like, am I making you nervous?" So I went over and talked to him. I was like, "No, you're not making me nervous. But if you talk during my show, you're going to be nervous because it's not going to go well." He's like, "Well, flu." And I was like, "All right." So the show started. When I get on stage, it's already been a shit show from the beginning.
Yes.
It started out horribly. So
What?
I get on stage and this guy just keeps yelling.
So just to clue
Oh,
you
yeah.
in,
Yeah.
we have a segment of, we already did what's your favorite beer. Our second segment is who did you want to punch this week?
Yeah.
Alex had a stand-up set at Mirage, and that's where we're at. Saturday night.
Yeah. And so 30 minutes before the show started, I had this guy that was drunk right in the front going, "You better be funny. You better be funny."
Ouch.
Over and over.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so my
That's
other
class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
all
it was great.
class. That's exactly what everybody in the room
Yeah.
is thinking.
So my opener goes up and it starts. It's a shit show from the beginning. Like people were complaining that the mic was too loud. They couldn't hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
And he yells
At a
at them
comedy
because it's a
show.
comedy show. Oh yeah, it was. So this guy starts talking to me again in a show, and he's just like, "When are you gonna be funny?" When I was like 5 minutes in, and he's not even listening. That's the problem. It's like these two other girls sat next to him and his wife, and he's flirting with these girls. So he's not
Yeah.
even listening to me. But every once in a while, he just pop in and go, "Are you gonna be funny?" And I'm like,
Do you have any counter heckling techniques?
"Yeah, oh yeah." So
Yeah.
So I finally I just stopped the show and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Is that your wife?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "How long have you been married?" She goes, 19 years. And I was like, Does he do this like every time y'all have sex? Like, you better be good, like the whole time?
I love it.
And he just like finally went like that. And his friend apologized afterwards. But
He better get me
I
off.
was like,
Right.
oh my gosh.
There's
You better
more
get
expectations, I guess. That's what we're all going to do tonight. We're going to state our expectations.
That whole night was just weird, and then we had a whole table. But I had, for the first time in 12 years of doing stand-up, I had to go apologize to a group of people because they got offended from my opener, and it was just a weird night.
Yeah, it was.
And then I went upstairs to a different venue on my way out with my briefcase and sold 6 T-shirts at a different venue. I was like, what?
At the karaoke venue?
Yeah, I had more success there than I did in my own show. I was like, that was a great one. So, anyways, but yeah, that's what I want to punch. All of them. Everybody in that building, including you.
Oh, well,
No, you made me
it happens. See, there's karma.
Yeah.
You got excited about punching me, and they bit you. Did you have anybody you wanted to punch? Can you even say that as a businessman?
You can say
operating?
so, and Chris is an option. You can
Like the-
I am always the fallback.
I'm like the Lyle Lovett of the brewing industry. So if I had access, I'd really belt Vladimir.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not happy about being faced with this.
Right.
It's not- it's not-
We shouldn't be, but
I thought as a species we were like past
Right.
that. So I don't want to get political.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's who I would punch in the mouth
Okay.
pretty hard.
Yeah.
Right now.
We can all agree on that one.
yeah, I think everybody is on board right now for punching Putin in the puss.
Yeah.
Right in the poop. Right in the poop.
Right in the Putin puss.
Him and the guy at the Mirage. They're like right there.
The guy at the Mirage is on the same level as Vladimir Putin.
Right.
I get it. Like, he invaded your whole space,
Oh.
fired shots,
Strap a rifle on him and send him over.
Oh,
right
we gotta
at
talk
front
about
line.
We gotta talk about this before we.
Oh, I'm
move
super
on.
excited.
We get done.
All right,
This is pretty.
talk to us about your
Wow.
beheading. Is it 10.1?
No, it's right at 10 within the tolerances of our crude instrumentation.
Yes.
It's about a 10%er.
Well, I'm super excited about
Very malty.
the head on this. It's tiny bubbles, like
And it-
such a
And
great.
you'll see as you sip, you'll get
You
these
get that nice lacing.
rings, and it's got so much body and so much
That nose.
texture, and it ages for quite a while for an ale. But it's really a malt showcase. It's like a malt party in your mouth.
It is.
It's a malt Scotch party. Like it
This
is
one of the most
smooth.
fascinating beers I've had.
It just disappears almost like off your tongue. It almost as you drink it, it disappears. But this lingering malty Scotch note, almost a smoky note.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does
I'm
have
getting
it does have a smoky color. I like to call it, "Hi, I'm Bonnie, marry me."
Yeah.
Yes. She's a bonny lass, she is. I would definitely marry this woman.
So that's
It
how I
does have-
describe it.
It's like a campfire in your mouth.
Have you named this beer?
Yes, we call it Fanatic Scottish. We have. Don't get me started on the name game. Okay,
That's
because
my game.
There are some crazy fun names out there.
This is a bonny
A
lass.
Bonnie Lad, if and it's probably
I
taken.
want to spend time with this bonny lass.
Yeah, that'll be its unofficial nickname. But the name game, I swear, with 8,000 breweries and
Yes.
they all have between 5 and 10 beers, and they're registering their names. I get exhausted. I go to USPTO and say, no, it's taken. Or just Untapped. You just go to Untapped.
Oh, yeah.
I think I have a really good name. There's 26 breweries using
Of
it.
some inference of that, yes.
Now we're not putting cease and desist orders on
Yeah.
one another, but it's like, if you're brewing it in Wyoming and I'm brewing it in Knoxville, there shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that goes
It's a
back
fun
to, I
name.
know you're going to go for this. So when I was at Orange, that was not my job. It was my hobby. It was my passion working
You were
there.
tasked with the naming.
So it was either I would come up with a beer idea based off of these flavors. Well, actually, it would start with the name of the beer. I would start with the name of the beer.
The style of the beer?
No, I would start with the name of the beer.
Oh,
Marty.
and then
And
back
then
in?
I would go the other direction. Here's how to make your beer fit my title.
I love it.
And it was weird. So I am known as the beer nerd. If me wearing a spider, so this is the Scarlet Spider outfit, hoodie. But underneath, I'm also wearing our shirt that you can get off our website.
Nice.
It is called 8-Bit Beer. It's Pac-Man eating beer, which is the story of my life. So I'm known as the beer nerd. And Star Wars is one of my favorite nerd genres. And this new show was coming up called The Mandalorian. And I was like,
Familiar with it?
yeah, we need to make the Mandalorian beer. We need a mango wheat beer to release at the time that The Mandalorian released.
My weed.
Because I was at Orange Hat.
Boom.
And that was our weed. That was our family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I talked to Brandon, and we didn't get to release it until season 2. But the day that season 2 of Mandalorian released, we released the Mandalorian, which is a mango wheat beer.
We didn't know each other that long at this point.
No, and then we also did variations of heat on it. We did a pepper series
Oh, that's
of the
brilliant.
Mandalorian as well. And so I'm super excited about this. Like, they made this beer for me. We did all these iterations of heating it up because I love pepper beers. And I'll be damned if Alex didn't go to another brewery,
Naked River.
Naked River Brew, and they had a beer called the Mandalorian.
I took a picture and I was like,
Great
Send it back to-
minds think
I was
alike.
like, no! I was like, I'm on the cutting edge. I know where we're at. And I'll be damned if somebody else didn't do it. There is no new ideas.
The Egyptians all did it
Yeah.
hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
thousands of years ago.
Yeah, so, but that's my fun. I love coming up with an idea and figuring out how we name it. Like, I'm right now working on, I want a barrel-aged blonde, and I want to call it Stifler's Mom.
Nice.
Because she was Slavic,
Yeah.
so we need to go like Czech style blonde,
Yeah.
but barrel age it so we could.
I actually have blonde aging in a Blanton's barrel downstairs. When we're done here, maybe I'll hook you
It
up.
sounds
Yeah.
like Stifler's Mom is in the making.
So if you want to, I mean, I'm not opposed to calling it Stifler's Mom because it's a great name.
Yeah.
But again, that'll be an in-house name.
Yeah.
So I can't register it.
Right.
But I don't think any of my colleagues are going to say, "Hey, we have Stifler's Mom here.
Right.
You need to stop."
Yeah. Stop with the Stifler's Mom. We've already covered that. But-
And I haven't tasted that like ever.
Really?
So it may be vinegar,
right.
but it may be like Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to go find
that's
out.
always the fun stuff.
I'm ready to go
is
find out. I gotta go get my
finding
phone
out.
charger. We were on here
I
somewhere.
got a charger you can borrow.
I'm also campaigning, and I know this is difficult in the midst of our 40th anniversary, 1982 World's Fair. By the way, what did
Oh, yeah,
Fanatic get?
country.
What are you doing?
England.
Oh, you're phone. You can't phone that in though. Like, are you guys? Guys are not going to do a porter or are you going to do an ESB or something like that? You already have something picked out that you're going to do for that?
I have.
It's a
Yeah.
secret.
And keep it a secret. I'm excited about that.
But it's a very traditional British style, English style, and
I think you and Last Days are excited because he got Belgium.
He got Belgium.
oh, nice.
But then I think Orange Hat,
Pretentious got France.
Orange Hat got
Orange Hat got Greece.
Greece.
I don't know how you do that. What is that? Dates
Yeah.
in spices?
So the Greeks don't do that. The Greeks just make Pilsner.
Okay, so I didn't know if you had to integrate like
So
qualities that they.
I'm thinking, and I because there are several countries that were here in '82 represented that don't necessarily have a definitive or unique style.
Yeah.
So what I'm expecting and hoping for is that you get Greece, you put in some ingredients that say Greece.
Yes.
Because if Grecian beer is Pilsner.
Yeah, so that's why I was thinking maybe you focus more on Grecian food styles because it's a very aromatic.
You would put some rosemary in it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That type of thing.
Anything with rosemary.
So I've been campaigning for this since before they did this 92 World's Fair, but I want somebody to make a wasabi rice beer.
That would be for me.
Because I love the idea, so I'm all about pepper beers. I love heating my beer. I think that dynamic of that liquid refreshment, even sweetness if you go that far, with some type of heat. And wasabi is one of the most distinguishable heats out there.
Yeah.
So you like the tropical heat IPA.
Yeah. I'm coming back tonight for this.
So here's what I'm proposing, unless somebody else wants to pick it up and run with it, is that I have a beer called Empty Hand. So I do mixed martial arts, and my sensei
Years, yes.
10th degree. He's actually Mark Aycock here in town. He's been recognized in the Hall of Fame for Ishinru karate.
Oh, we're going to go to a whole
So
other level.
he inspired me to produce a beer called Empty Hand. Empty Hand is karate means empty hand. In English. So I came up with and it's rice. It has rice adjunct, but it's super delicate. Now that would lend itself to a wasabi treatment. And if you want to explore that, I'm your huckleberry.
Oh yeah. Like off camera. We're going to talk some martial arts here in a little bit.
Yeah, we got to talk about laugh beer too, maybe.
Yes. So laugh. Yes. That's another thing we can talk about. But yeah, wasabi rice beer just seems like that's how you transition into a Japanese heat beer.
Yeah, I'm 3/4 of the way there, so I would be willing to take a run at it.
Yeah.
If
Let's talk about
period.
this
Yeah.
here in a second. But anyway, this wee heavy. Jesus, Alex.
It was too good. I usually wouldn't do that, but the flavors are just
No,
like,
I have to. I'm kind of hoping warming up. I'm going to get even more of it.
You will.
I'm.
This is definitely a beer that benefits from being
So
warmed
that's
up.
how I feel about a wee heavy, and that's why I haven't been just knocking this back. Is because I know there's more here, and I'm already intrigued. So anyway, Alex, you got stuff coming up?
nothing. No.
Nothing on tour.
I'm taking a break.
Taking a break.
I'm going to Pennsylvania next week.
Are you not going to open for Zane tomorrow?
For who?
So he's got a show here at Fanatic for a stand-up comedian. In fact, I think you told me this morning you were picking up chairs.
I haven't opened in 8 years for anybody, but
We've got 180 chairs. So we're basically running in the brewery, which they're excited about because a lot of they go to breweries just like you do, but they don't always get to perform in the brewery.
yeah.
Zane Lamprey will be performing in the brewery tomorrow night, starting at 6. So we're really excited about that.
How do people get tickets? Do they need tickets?
Yeah,
First
I
come,
think
first served?
there's still tickets available. I mean,
Eventbrite?
we can accommodate. Go to zanelamprey.com, but we can accommodate up to 200 in the big room in the brewery itself. So
It's a cool room. I've done a couple shows.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and that's another thing I want to thank you for is supporting the comedy industry.
Of course.
We're trying to rebuild that here in
beer and
Knoxville.
comedy, you kidding me?
It's so
perfect. He's a trendsetter. I mean, he's a trailblazer.
Yeah.
And what better combination?
Yeah. But Fanatic has been specifically involved in supporting that. I know you do some of the local comedians that come in and do
we
their
have
sets
open
here and
mic,
stuff.
open mic night, and they kind of test out new material here.
Yeah.
So we're proud of that, and we love having them here.
Yeah.
It was funny, the one night I had my show here, I think there was so much going on in Knoxville, and that was a last minute thing. So my wife and I, she comes and So few people showed up, and she's like, you know what? This is still a really cool venue. She's like,
Yeah.
just have fun with it. And I thought,
Yeah.
So we did. We had a blast, and
Yeah, we did.
you know, let's think about comedy. It's so good. It goes on like we found on Saturday night.
So again, guys,
For 10 hours.
we are currently at Fan Base, which is at Fanatic Brewing. We have got to spend special time like
Yeah,
this.
this is one of my favorite shows.
I love just talking to you, but your knowledge
Yeah.
base will hurt most people's brains. I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, I was like, Marty is going to forget more about beer than most people are going to know about
You did say
beer
that.
or even care about beer.
He says that.
But I love getting to get into Marty not as beer. Like, let's talk about beer, but let's not talk about Marty as beer. Let's not talk about necessarily Fanatic as beer.
And I'm
But
so
let's-
excited he's taking us overseas.
Oh, yeah, we're going. He's taking us. Did he commit to taking us to the Czech Republic,
I don't
or
think we
just
mentioned-
infer that?
Yeah, just
okay.
I got a
That's
place
somewhere
to
I wanna go.
crash.
Yeah, he's got a place.
That's in my top 3 places in the world to go among.
Yeah,
So,
you need to.
Yeah.
Marty, thank you so much for hosting us, for talking to us, just laughing, having a good time. Engineers don't laugh, and I love that you're able
Recovering
to.
engineer.
Yeah, recovering engineer. He's overcoming that. This is one of my favorite places. I want to push more people here. If for no other reason, just the education you will get at Fanbase and Fanatic, because there is an education to be had about craft brewing. And I think you're on the forefront of that. I think you're the most knowledgeable. I think that everybody needs to be listening to what you're saying. So I love that we can laugh, have a good time. We're going to go experience some more things that you guys are going to miss out on because we're going to hang out with Marty a little bit longer. But outside of that, you guys have a great day. We're live on YouTube right now, but you can also subscribe and hit that little notification bell. That will get you notified exactly when we're going live, because as you guys know, we could be at 10 o'clock at Fanatic, or we're going to be at, well, it could be anywhere, honestly, at any time. So hit all of those, and it's going to help us get recognized, help the algorithms to push us up further on things. So
Just one last thought.
Yeah.
So people used to tell me, yeah, you keep drinking that much beer, starting that early in the morning, you're going to regret it tomorrow in the morning. And so I just sleep till noon.
Yeah.
And then I don't regret it in the morning.
because the morning is already.
Yeah, so I'm a problem solver.
I am also
You're
of
welcome
the,
to use that.
Yeah.
I'm also of the belief that my taste buds are more awake in the morning.
Oh, absolutely.
When I wake up, like they're all ready to go, so
Yeah.
the
Once-
beer tastes better.
Once you scrape off the night before,
yes,
then you're
yes.
good to go.
Well, that's more in his venue because he's such a night owl and hangs out at some of the worst places.
PSA, oral hygiene is very important, people.
Yeah,
Oral
absolutely.
hygiene, let's end on that.
And this
note.
is a great cleaner for your
It
oral
is.
hygiene. I'm gonna mouthwash this.
Cheers.
Cheers to an empty glass.
Latte.
Wait, I got a little bit.
Here you go.
Oh, wait, you're trying to get me
Oh,
drunk?
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
What a great
gonna
share.
take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he's going
That's why we're going
downstairs.
downstairs. So,
I'm getting you a slender skinny.
Guys, have a great one.
see you guys.
Sign him out.
Okay, I gotta go take a smoke break.
Now what?
I want a podcast, guys.